is a war. It's happening now. It will decide the fate of humanity. The time to choose sides has come. We are the resistance. We are the InfoWar.
Welcome to the InfoWars Nightly News. I'm your host, Jakari Jackson. It's September 15th, 2014, and let's get straight into our news tonight. Obama admits ISIS beheading videos helped the White House agenda. And of course they did, because as you recall, it's just about a week or so ago, a representative of the Steve Sotloff family came out and said that the Obama administration is using these journalists as pawns. Of course, Steve Sotloff is one of the journalists you saw in the ISIS beheading videos. The article, "The Paths to War, Then and Now Haunt Obama," explains how the president noted that gruesome videos released by ISIS had helped galvanize public support for action. Obama's comments are attributed to 10 people who spoke with him with the days leading up to his speech Wednesday night, who quoted his private remarks to the New York Times' Peter Baker. Because as you recall, about a year or so ago, Obama wanted to have intervention in Syria, reciting the supposed attacks by Assad and his own people with chemical weapons, even though there's video evidence of the Syrian rebels carrying out at least one attack. He said we have to go in because Assad's out here doing all these horrible things to his own people, completely ignoring the things going on to the people in this country, just like we saw with Ferguson, Missouri. Russia, China, all these other countries said, hey, you want to come over here and tell us how to do our business, learn how to do your own business at home. But getting back to Syria, the U.S. is not happy that China and Russia are teaming up. They have a pipeline that goes, in the Syria area. So, that's one of the big reasons why they want to go in there. And I'm not, pro-Assad, I'm not pro-Putin or whoever else. I'm just saying, we can't be Team America, world police, telling people how they should behave in their own countries. And Rand Paul went even further, saying that arming Syrian rebels will empower ISIS.
5 years ago, ISIS wasn't a threat, but I did say even as much as 2 or 3 years ago that it was a threat to give arms to them in Syria. So I think had the president had his way, or had Hillary Clinton had her way, we may well have had ISIS in charge in Damascus now, because they've been arming and creating a safe haven for them. As it is, I think ISIS is more of a threat to us now because of the arming of the Islamic rebels in Syria.
And what Paul is saying there is that ISIS is a much larger threat than they were 5 years ago. And a big part of this is that the U.S. continues to fund, to aid the al-Qaeda rebels in Syria, a practice that we definitely need to stop. But somebody who's in the practice of saving themselves, the U.S. State Department, they're ordering 160,000 Ebola hazmat suits. In a press release posted by MarketWatch, Lakeland Industries, a manufacturer of industrial protective clothing for first responders, announced that it had signaled its intention to join the fight against the spread of Ebola by encouraging other suppliers to meet the huge demand created by the U.S. State Department's order of 160,000 hazmat suits. So everybody says, we here at InfoWars, we're fear-mongering because we cite big scientists and other experts who look into these things, who study these things day and night. And they say, hey, we are concerned that this could have a widespread outlook, a widespread pandemic. Some people would decide to say 5 million people could be affected by this. I'm not saying that personally, but these are what the top experts and researchers had to say about this. And we'll go to break with what Alex Jones had to say about the issue. Stay tuned. This is the InfoWars Nightly News.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are live and broadcasting worldwide. Thank you so much for joining us on this September 15th, 2014 worldwide transmission. I am your host, Alex Jones. Obviously, the Ebola story is really starting to get huge and is incredibly important. They estimate more than 20,000 people, very conservative number, have Ebola right now in Africa as it exponentially spreads across the continent. And we have this story by Paul Joseph Watson at INFOWARS.com that's top linked on DrudgeReport.com. U.S. State Department orders 160,000 Ebola hazmat suits. Paul Watson co-hosted the Sunday show last night. And I heard him breaking this down. He has the article out today. Bulk purchases prompts concerns about spread of deadly epidemic. Continuing, CDC issues Ebola checklist. Now is the time to prepare. That story is also on Drudge. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention warned hospitals and doctors that now is the time to prepare has issued a 6-page Ebola checklist to help healthcare workers quickly determine if patients are infected. While the CDC does not believe there are any new cases of Ebola in the United States, the assumption is the checklist is that it is only a matter of time before the virus hits home. For example, one part reads, encouraging healthcare personnel to use a buddy system when caring for patients. Another recommends a process to report cases to top officials. And it goes on. The checklist has been distributed to major hospitals and even little ones, including Urgent Center in Leesburg, Virginia. And that dovetails again with our article directly from the FedBiz website that they have ordered the 160,000 Ebola hazmat suits for Ebola. Bulk purchase prompts concerns about spread of deadly epidemic. That's also being reported by Fox News. The U.S. State Department has ordered 160,000 hazmat suits for Ebola, prompting concerns that the federal government is anticipating the rapid spread of a virus that has already claimed an unprecedented number of lives. In a press release posted to MarketWatch, Lakeland Industries, a manufacturer of industry protective clothing for first responders, announced that it had signaled its intention to join the fight against the spread of Ebola by encouraging other suppliers to meet the huge demand created by the U.S. State Department ordering 160,000 hazmats. And they've put out other similar purchase orders, again, on the FedBiz Ops website. With the U.S. State Department alone putting out a bid for 160,000 suits, we encourage all protective apparel companies to increase their manufacturing capacity for sealed seam garments so that our industry can do its part in addressing this threat to global health. And it just goes on from there. I'll read more when we come back from break. But this is pretty frightening information. Friday, we covered the articles. In fact, will you guys re-pull those out of the stack? Where top virologist out of Germany, top World Health Organization virologist, and others are saying millions are infected. Millions more will be infected. And that they believe 5 million will die. I'm not saying any of that. A month ago, or more than a month ago, back on August 4th, we talked about public documents that governments have believed for 2 years that airborne is becoming somewhat airborne. Not extremely airborne, but can survive in the air long enough to be transmitted. And we know it's gestating longer, so that's why there's undoubtedly also carriers that are immune or resistant, but that the viral titer stays high in, according to the medical literature I've read.
Celebrate the spirit of freedom and liberty upon which our nation was founded at InfoWarsShop.com. Molon Lave is ancient Greek for come and take it. This popular design combines both classic Greek Spartan imagery with modern M16 assault rifles. Now available in women's tees and proudly made in the USA. Celebrate the spirit of 1776 with the George Washington brass belt buckle or this incredibly sharp-looking 1776 hat. Badass. And be sure to check out the new arrivals at InfoWars Life, where you can prepare your body to perform at peak levels with Survival Shield Nascent Iodine, Super Male Vitality, and Fluoride Shield. And wake up, America. Immune Support Blend is the healthy choice for the gourmet coffee lover. So get incredibly high-quality, freedom-based products and help fund the revolution at InfoWarsShop.com.
The facts are in. The studies are legion. Sodium fluoride and other toxic members of the fluoride family are devastating the health and cognitive ability of the American people. So why are the social engineers adding it to the water? Simple. Dumb down the host population that the parasitic technocracy is feeding on. We may not have been able to get fluoride out of the water supply yet, but we can help to get it out of our bodies. I am extremely excited to announce the exclusive InfoWars Life Fluoride Shield formulation. fusing 6 of the best documented ingredients from around the world to help the body remove not just toxic fluoride residues from the body, but a whole host of toxic substances. Let's take a stand against the globalists by blocking their poisons with Fluoride Shield. I use Fluoride Shield every day. Secure your Fluoride Shield and other pioneering formulations at InfoWarsLife.com today. Let's start cleansing our bodies now and support the InfoWar at the same time. That's InfoWarsLife.com.
And welcome back. In this next segment, we will focus on the actions of Big Brother. New ID system causes week of outage for background check system. Last weekend, the FBI implemented the next generation identification system, a $1.2 billion biometric system that recognizes facial features, scans irises, and reads palm and fingerprints to identify individuals, to replace the sole fingerprint system. The change has impacted a database within the NGI called the Interstate Identification Index. And you say, well, what's wrong with that? Don't you want the FBI to identify these bad boys and girls? Well, here's the issue with this. On 9 occasions this week, the National Instant Criminal Background Check System reported outages that delayed the completion of checks for customers shopping at a licensed gun dealer, which basically means to say, if you went into a gun shop this past weekend or over the past week, you may have encountered some static when you went to go through your background check system, and hey, you just found out that it wasn't working that day. The outage times range from several minutes to several hours, but if you needed to purchase a firearm during one of those outage times, you were just out of luck. Hopefully these are just temporary outages and the FBI can get these things sorted out sooner than later. Yahoo wants to scan user emails to figure out which apps to recommend. Then, in the same way that Pandora recommends songs based on the songs that users like to listen to most, Yahoo will recommend new apps for that Yahoo Mail user, which is to say they're reading your emails and they now admit it. This for everybody who says they're not reading your emails. That's just a conspiracy theory. Yahoo admits it. Google admits that you have no reasonable expectation of privacy. Verizon has gone a step further. They said, we're spying on you, but we'll give you free goodies if you don't make a big stink about it. So yes, they are tracking what you do. They are reading your emails and so forth. And you may say, a very popular answer, I don't have anything to hide. You may not be Scarface, but you can ask Kate Upton. I'm sure she never robbed a bank, but she had a few pictures that she didn't want to get out on the internet reportedly. Same thing with Jennifer Lawrence. I'm sure she wasn't moving more dope than Rick Ross, but she had a few images that she didn't want to get out there on the internet reportedly. So you have to be careful about these things, especially when you go online, your phone, your computer, whatever else, smart TVs. You have to be very careful when you use these devices. And Steve Jobs knew this. And he said, because of all the things that go wrong with technology, I limit the amount of technology my kids can use at home. Steve Jobs to his kids, don't use iPads. A piece entitled Steve Jobs Was a Low-Tech Parent discusses how the late Apple CEO refused to allow his children to play with one of the company's most popular devices, the iPads. This is the story coming out of the New York Times. So your kids must love the iPad, the reporter asked Jobs. They haven't used it, he told the reporter. We limit how much technology our kids use at home. And it's not just the security aspects you have to be aware of. It's also people becoming so dependent on these technologies. And I'm sure you're like me, a lot of people are. You have a smartphone, and it's very convenient to do this or that on your phone or on your computer, but you try to limit your digital footprint, especially when it comes to confidential information. And also, kids being so enamored with these things. I've seen videos that you can watch on YouTube. The parents take away the iPad and the kid just freaks out. Or, this is a more forgivable offense, but it was notable. Video montages of kids on YouTube, and they get so used to scrolling on the iPad or the iPhone, they pick up a book or magazine and they're trying to scroll the pages of a magazine, but they find out it doesn't work like that. And those are, smaller children, but that's just an example of what could happen. And now we're talking about smaller children. So let's go real deep into what these small children are being taught. Schools to fingerprint students to monitor their diets. This is just more of the nanny state coming at you. The Express and Star reports students at Red Hill School in Stourbridge, England, will be fingerprinted in an attempt to reduce lunch lines and monitor pupils' diets. So there it is. It's for the good of the children. It's to monitor their diets. Now, let's contrast this. Okay, so you have the fingerprint scanner. And every time I go to the Texas DMV, or when I got my driver's license, you have to surrender your thumbprints here in the state of Texas, which I was not happy about at all. But you know, that's what it was. But when I went to get my driver's license, they had the little scanner, much like you saw in that article, and they spray it down and they wipe it off. So they're saying that the thumbprint scanner is supposed to be faster to get the kids through the line. Well, if you have to do that for each individual going to get their driver's license, and you have hundreds of kids with sticky fingers, they're eating candy all